Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Burgundy Gold Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene of Fox Sports Radio 1340 AM and 96.9 FM. I'm your host, Glenn, along with my main man, Wole. What's up?
What's going on, Glenn? How you doing, my guy?
Doing well, man. Doing well. We get to talk Commanders football, right? We get to cut a big day, and if you're a Washington Commanders fan, a very big day. We also have our special guest, as always, a pleasure to have, Bowie TV reporter, Washington Commanders reporter, none other than Candy Waller. Candy, how you doing today? It's been a busy day for you, Candy.
Yes, it's a busy day.
I know, yeah.
I mean, they've definitely kept all of us busy, right?
Yes.
They've kept us busy. Okay.
It's a good day, man. We're a couple of days removed from the Super Bowl. We're talking about the Washington Commanders, not the Seattle Seahawks or the New England Patriots. That's good. We're talking Commanders today. Today was a big day for Washington Commanders fan. It was a new era for Commanders fans. We had Dan Quinn talk today. He introduced the new offense and defensive coaching staff. David Blough was introduced officially to the Washington Commanders fan base, as well as Daron, also as the defensive coordinator, introduced as well to the Washington Commanders fan base. Man, let's get started with Dan Quinn, right? We get started with Dan Quinn. Candy, you was there. What was the atmosphere like today around this excitement in the new era, as you will, with the Washington Commanders?
I mean, I think they went, of course, it's in true Coach Quinn fashion. He went down just the list of, honoring, the Washington Post, reporter.
That was dope.
Yep. And so we didn't sit in their seats. Their seats were open. So I think JP may have posted it. Definitely sending condolences to the families of former then Redskins, because that's what they were. They were Redskins. Players who have passed on, and giving a shout out to Bobby Wagner, who won 2025 Walter Payton Man of the Year. And then he was like, all right, let's get into it. So they did the housekeeping items. It was like church announcements, and then got into it. I think he's just ready to move forward. I mean, he's just ready to move forward. I think, they've had to, really sit and probably sulk and probably just really think about just how bad last year went. Despite injuries, it still went poorly. And you could tell he's just ready to move forward and get this right. I'm not saying Super Bowl right. I ain't saying all that, but I think just, he did mention, a championship caliber program. He did use that language in his presser. And I think it's just acknowledged too, right? That he said some things about, wanting experience at the play caller position, and that changed. And I think, and that changed as they got into the interview process. What I do think is important, I don't know who is watching, but I do think this is probably a great time to share. I had a question for Coach Quinn that didn't make it into the press conference. So I asked afterwards, and this is just a bit of, I kind of understand what type of time he's on, because my question, and I'm looking at my phone so I can quote it accurately. My question to him was, when he was entering into the interview process for coordinators, what were your non-negotiables? Meaning, what were the must-haves for both roles? And his response was collaboration amongst staff and players, and a clear vision for how we're going to implement the offensive and defensive schemes, and being relentless in the teaching aspect of things. So what I really held on to was, it really wasn't just about the clear vision for how, it wasn't just about a clear vision. It was about the implementation of those schemes, which I thought was important. So I know we're going to get into a bit of that, but because it didn't make the presser, and because, we're talking about Dan Quinn and the vibe, I thought that was important to share publicly, that question didn't get into. It wasn't on the press conference, but because I asked it.
But you know what? But I'm reading between the lines of that question and reading between the lines of his answer, right? Mm-hmm. What's key is we talked about last year how players wasn't being taught, right? Mm-hmm. How players wasn't grasping different concepts, right? We could see that players wasn't grasping different concepts. So it's amazing to me, or it's good to hear that there will be much more teaching going on than what it was last year, and that's the key there. Which, without putting implications on himself or anybody else, he realized that there wasn't teaching that was done.
And I think with the collaboration amongst staff and players, being able to listen to that feedback, even ask that feedback. We knew we know that there was it was publicly shared about that happening offensively. You did not hear that defensively. So yes, Glenn, all of those things, but I really wanted to know, like, what were your non-negotiables? These coordinators they must be able to do these things, which is a good sign, right? Based on what we've heard today from the coordinators.
We got George in the building. What's good, George?
I had to be joining you. Sorry that I missed the first couple minutes of the talk here. I was looking forward to this. I was usually be listening to the Olympics while I was at work, but I had to get this on. Unfortunately, the stream I was using, it talked over your question, so I did not hear your question during the press conference, Candy, and I am sorry about that. I don't know if you just went through that or not, but if you haven't, I'm looking forward to what you asked and what was the response.
Yeah, I just shared one, and I kind of mixed in. I wasn't real clear because I was like, Glenn, we're gonna surprise people, however you want to go. But because what Glenn asked me, there was a question that I had that wasn't asked in the presser because logistical things, let's say that. And so I asked directly. And so just to repeat it, my question was, when entering into the interview process for coordinators, what were your non-negotiables? Meaning, what were the must-haves for both coordinators? And the response was collaboration amongst staff and players, and a clear vision for how we're going to implement the offensive and defensive schemes, and being relentless in the teaching aspect of things.
That was Dan's answer to that question?
That was Dan's answer to that question, yes.
No, it's so much to that. And every time you read it, I get something different, right? Like the collaboration. To me, it seemed like it wasn't collaboration in the last regime, right? Some people probably ran and did their own thing. It wasn't as much as we thought it was, and some of that played out on Sundays that we saw. It wasn't sure of what was going to be ran, who was going to run it, and who was going to call it.
Yeah,
who wanted what?
Yeah.
So his answer, every time you read it, is something different that we pick up from his viewpoint that he says. So it's good there.
No, I when you asked that question, I'm like, this is probably the right time to bring this up. Because the question I had for him, it was important. As far as I was concerned about the lessons that he's learned, from last year. But this one I thought would set the tone for your question, Glenn. So I wanted to make sure that.
And I want to show it too. I want to show a clip that that we got from the press conference too. Dan Quinn talking about, you brought up earlier, what he learned, what Dan Quinn learned from last season. I want to share that because there was a lot of things last season that didn't happen. I think it's a good time to show that as well. Like what did he learn from Dan season? So last season, here's Dan Quinn.
Hey, Coach. So I think at one point in the season, toward the end of the season, you mentioned this being one of the toughest years, or last year being one of the toughest years of your coaching career. So what have you said, okay, these are the things I need to do differently going forward?
Yeah, like full stop 25. All right, I had to do that first. Like enough beating myself up, others in that way. And so the energy, the swagger that we create, the standards that we want to do, for me, Kenny, it always starts first with practice and like the speed, the effort, the execution of that. The locker room is a strong one. Guys supported one another. We kind of spoke on that so much in a tough year. But I think just kind of like I want to recapture that energy of that swagger of how we want to play, the style, the attitude of it, and I'm certain we can do that. You've heard me also say like building a championship program this season. I'm taking the lessons, I'm moving them forward, but it's also staying there. I'm not carrying over the things that sucked and weren't part of how we want to do business. So there's a lot of energy that's going forward today with the coaches, and so as we're moving forward, when the players get here, like they'll be a part of that too. But yeah, I'm ready for that process to be fully underway.
To you guys, your thoughts on Dan saying, basically, I'm putting everything in the past. Last year was on me. We're not talking championship. We're just talking about getting together as a coaching staff and moving on. Your thoughts?
Oh, for me, I mean, I like accountability. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, we have people that have been in the chat, and folks, they just wanted something. They wanted reasons of what happened, what happened last season. But when you're the head coach, I mean, it's your ship, and that's like how he stepped up, and he kind of like looked back and reflected and said, like, it's on me, and we got to find ways to kind of make sure what happened this season doesn't happen again. And like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and hoping for the same result. Well, this isn't the same thing. This is something totally different. So hopefully, like, this is like, he really looked at himself and looked at how they're doing things as a unit. And that's not just him. That's Adam Peters. That's everybody in that building, and even players. What they did last year and tried to change it for the upcoming season, so this doesn't happen again. It's not just like losing it's not just the losing records the way they lost this season. So this season, the way they were getting beat and the way they were getting manhandled, just to make sure that he has what he wants this identity to be, like to be tough, gritty. You know what I mean? Like any given Sunday, making sure people feel them out there on Sundays. That wasn't the case in 2025, 2026. I feel like doing this, I think, puts him in a better situation. And the way he comes across is that's what it seems like he's trying to gain. He's trying to add or trying to have going into next season.
George, any thoughts on this?
The part of that answer that caught my ear was the part about practice, because we talked about it ad infinitum last season. They didn't look prepared. They didn't do enough in training camp and preseason. And the fact that he talks about practice leads me to hope that they are going to be a lot more prepared when this season starts next year than they were, because you can't sit here and say anything other than they were not ready for week one. We talked about it. Candy, you alluded to it on several different occasions and in several different games, and in the aftermath when you would have your coaching from the couch show and that you and Wole do. I heard you talk about it. The lack of preparedness was stunning. So that part certainly catches my ear. And what I'm curious about is that going to be Dan Quinn enforcing that, or is that going to be these coordinators enforcing that?
I think that's a follow-up question, right? Because, with that question, I wanted, and that was the one, like I said, logistically, so my question that I read to you all was going to be my second question, but I needed to get that first one out. But like I said, it was some logistics in the room that I was just like, oh, wait, I got to get the mic away. So, yeah, it's a whole other story. But I really wanted to understand from Coach Quinn exactly what he said, like the acknowledgement of what went wrong, of where they could have leaned in more, where things could have just been, this goes back to the non-negotiables, right? And what you mentioned earlier, Glenn, that first caught your mind about the relentless in teaching, because the relentless in teaching happens in practice.
Mm-hmm.
It happens in practice. It happens in the film room. It happens before game day. You can't teach it on game day.
Yeah.
And so you guys are picking up on what he was putting down and what I gathered as well from a use your clues perspective. Like he's acknowledging it wasn't going well on practice day. It wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing in practice. That's why the game looked like this. Right? Totally unprepared. And he just, full stop 2025, like, hey, yeah, I'm not going to get down on myself, but there are some absolute things that need to be done differently. And based on what needed to be done differently, he got coordinators that aligned with that. And I don't want to do any spoiler alerts because I think we got clips for some of that. Well, one spoiler alert I'll do is from one of the things that Coach Quinn shared in his press conference, right? Because I'm not sure if I picked that clip. I have so many clips. Was about saying, like, to Daronte, of course, because you got one coordinator that is familiar with the roster, right? Professionally and personally. You have another one, not yet, right? But he said, you watch the film. You watch it. I'm not gonna mess with you. You do it. Then let's talk. That's a different approach because that's a different approach in itself. Sometimes the head coach is gonna tell you what they want. They're gonna tell you what they say. And I'm gonna let you watch it, and then let's talk about it. I think that lets you know, Coach Quinn, he's already. I mean, it shows still that level of autonomy, but he's understanding that part of the teaching and what needs to happen in order to get a full product on Sundays or game day.
Yeah, I like that because I like. Well, I'm gonna say this real quick, George, and you can go on. I like that because it's like you're really legitimately letting other people view your product with a different lens, which is very important because we are all human beings. You're going to have natural biasness. You're going to have natural favor or what you think you can get out of this player or this, that, and the other. While another dude is going to look at it, another coach, another player, whatever, a GM or whatever, another individual, especially in this situation, the defensive coordinator may have a different lens. He may not look at it the same way you look at it. So this is important because, again, if you want somebody to look at it the same way you're looking at it, you're not really trying to create change. This is a situation where you have a guy who can now isolate it and see it for himself and say, you know what, you're right about this player. You know what, no, you're wrong about this player. You know what, this player should be doing this instead of this. So I got to give him credit. So go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
My follow-up to that question would be, how much was this all Dan Quinn? Was this all him looking in the mirror and saying, this has just been a total disaster, a failure, and I need to change a lot of things? Do you think it was something that came from conversations with Adam Peters when the season was over? Did somebody outside talk to him and maybe give him, some strong feedback or some frank opinions because Dan Quinn is not known for being a guy that changes a lot. He's a pretty stubborn man. We saw it, I think, last year at times. And it sounds like he is changing a whole lot of the things that he's doing and the way he does them.
Well, I think in Dan Quinn's career, I think for him it's panic mode, right? I think in my opinion, the way that he's responding is this. I got two young coordinators. I'm going to trust them, right? They're here. I'm trusting them because, as Wole said, you get new eyes, right, on the product, new eyes on the people. I get new vision. Right? I get new people around me. Also, remember, Dan Quinn is a builder of men. He's a trainer, right? So what he's trying to do too also is he's training these guys eventually because you're a coordinator, you eventually want to be a head coach. Let's be honest. So now I'm giving you the tools and things that you need in order to become that head coach. So I need you to look at this, watch the film. Who do you like? And then here it is. For Daronte, he doesn't know the defense. So I need to know what players can fit into my scheme of things. We'll get to his scheme of things that can make this thing go. So now I got to watch everybody. Who we need to sign, who we need to let go. What do I like? What I don't like? What can we keep? Who shows effort? I mean, looking at all that type of stuff. He wasn't there for training camp. He wasn't there for practice. So he doesn't know. He's going off of what he see in game film. A game film to help make decisions on what needs to stay. So Dan has to give him autonomy in this situation in order to develop his defense.
Candy, can you go? Can you answer like George's question?
Yeah, I mean, I think Paul says in the chat, like, 5 and 12 will make you change, but there's also exit interviews, and there's evaluation, and so there's opportunities to get feedback. And to my understanding, people gave feedback.
I like yeah.
I like exchange of views by the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, yeah. I mean, 5 and basically, but to that though, like that's what would be more than worried about, like more than like upper management making you change. You 5 and 12, like not 5 and 12. You 5 and 12.
You 5 and 12, and depending on where you get the feedback,
yeah. And you go in and when you're 5 and 12, you better think about change. That shouldn't be you. There's no reason to be stubborn when you're 5 and 12. When you flip it, and the way you were 5 and 12, it wasn't that you were 5 and 12 and competitive. You were 5 and 12 with BTA. So it don't even, to be honest with you, you're a bad 5 and 12. So you would be ignorant, to be honest with you. And I think if you wanted to keep things going the same, you would be fired if you did that in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, so 5 and 12 it's the way you finish. Like you fired your coordinators you basically got rid of your coordinators for a particular reason.
To save yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you had to take over the defensive coordinator job. That's like your boss coming in and having to do your job for you.
Yeah.
That's never good. We already knew how that was going to end. And I told you all, Minnesota, I said, y'all, look, I like Cliff, but remember I kept saying it. I said, I was surprised he wasn't gone Monday morning. I said, "Oh, there go Cliff. Oh, there goes his car. Okay, he's still here." Because I was like, I don't think we're gonna see him no more. But you know, they don't do that kind of thing during the season. I don't think this regime, but it was obvious the philosophies were different.
Yeah, and
you start getting feedback. And it's like, whoa. And what this also lets me know is that, and I've said this now on a couple shows, I'm asking around with people, and the first thing they say is Jayden was hurt. Absolutely. 1,000%. Definitely. Then Terry was hurt. We get it. All the things. But this lets me know that Dan Quinn is not taking those injuries as an excuse.
It shouldn't be, though.
He's not.
But it shouldn't be.
It should not be an excuse. Much better. He knows it should have been much better output, even with the injuries. He believes and knows that there should have been a much better output.
Yeah, I don't think that's the thing. Like, it's not about like you can be killed with injuries, but still play a certain style of football. What I mean by that is like you can lose games, but you play tough and still be able to be competitive. And that'll be okay. You can say injuries. That's fine. That's a fair thing. But when you're getting dominated, like they were getting dominated this season with the injuries, it's like it's not just injuries. Because again, we've seen examples. The problem with the injuries, for anybody, is we saw examples that some teams making the playoffs, but worse injuries than what Washington had as a whole. Like
Detroit the year before.
Not even the Detroit. We can go to the Niners. What the Niners lost this year, to get to where they got to was ridiculous. They lost they lost their quarterback for a lot. They went with Matt Jones for a lot. They were juggling quarterbacks. Then they lost their best pass rusher. Arguably one of the best pass rushers in Joey Bosa. Then they lost Warner, one of the best linebackers in the whole, and they were still able to compete. They lost Brandon, regardless of what Ayuk was a starter for them. Ayuk, then they didn't have Ayuk for him. They lost. Kittle was missing a lot of times this season. They lost just as much as Washington, to be honest with you, and they were able to kind of. What was their record? We weren't even asking for some ridiculous record like that. In a tougher conference.
They won a playoff game on the road.
There was 11 and something. I think 11.
No, they won 12.
Yeah,
they were 11 and 6.
12. 11 and 6 or 12 and 5. Yeah, something like that.
They had a crazy record, but I'm just saying that in a tougher division too. At that, so I'm just saying when you put all that together, it's just it's not. And to me, it's not about record. I don't want anybody to think record is. It's the way you lose. They were losing games. And so, yeah, I'm glad Coach Quinn knows that. Like, it's that I'm not using injuries as an excuse of the way we played, not because wins and losses are something totally different, but the way you lose games is very important in terms of the effort, the style of play you want, and you weren't getting that. Period. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
no, you good, because I'm glad you ended there, because it goes back to what he said in his the clip we saw, right? It was some things that he wanted to recapture, right? He knew that the team lost, right? Everybody said all year that Coach Quinn didn't lose the locker room. I'm not buying that, right? He lost the locker room. They just weren't talking about it, because if you don't come back and say we need to recapture the energy and swagger if you didn't lose it. Right?
So I am going to correct that. He did not lose the locker room.
No. He didn't lose it. They lost faith in.
I will say that the coordinator absolutely did. I will say that now publicly.
Yeah, the coordinator's lost
Coach Quinn. It's too many people. They think he's a hell of a coach. They do, and they're like, for him to keep this together, this is incredible. But the coordinator, yes. For sure.
Yeah.
Defensively.
Yeah, because again, they didn't believe in the system. They didn't believe in the man. When you stop believing in the system and you stop believing in the coordinator, again, but Dan Quinn would take the whole thing because you are the head, because you're the head dog. Everything rides on your shoulders. You take that. He know what 2024 was, the energy that was in that locker. Let's be honest. There was energy around that team, right? There was swagger around that team. People wanted to come out and be back and be part of the Commanders, and he enjoyed that, right? Everybody said, y'all said earlier, a few minutes ago, 5-12, right? When you're 12-5, and then you go from 5-12, that makes you question. That makes you question a lot of things, right? It makes you questions of decisions.
I want to read this real quick. Trent U70, what's going on? Appreciate you. Always support. Appreciate you. Says Chicago game and Chargers game, even Broncos game. Show they could compete even with all the injuries. Coaching and lack of preparation, adjustments played big roles in our losing season. Those are deal. Those are like the Chargers was a win. The Chicago game, mistakes. Chicago game, I guess you can give that. But I think we should have won. We definitely should have won the Chicago game.
Unfortunately, I blame that more on player execution.
Yeah, than the coaching. I believe in laying down player execution. Like, you had the fumbles and whatever. I don't look at that any differently. The Broncos game was a well-coached game. They just lost. I will say that. They just lost. That again, they didn't have enough of those games. That's my problem.
Let's go back to the Miami game. We all, we kind of skip over when Dan Quinn took over, and I remember you all asking me, what can we see differently in this game? And I said, you will see effort. That's what I said, because at that point, the effort was gone.
Yeah, I agree.
Out of them, right? Can't between Dallas, and then you saw a little bit of the juice defensively in Kansas City, and I said, okay, Miami, when Coach Quinn, well, it was a whole bunch more games on that. Was the Seahawks, Detroit? It was bad.
Well, Seahawks was bad.
But I said when he took over, I said you will see effort. You will see that for Coach Quinn, and you did, and you saw some different looks.
Yeah, for some games. Yeah, no, definitely agree. He saw it like he was hyped. The players definitely had some type of they got hype around him. I'm just saying there was just too far in between.
They were too far gone at that point.
Yeah, and that too. But definitely too far gone. But throughout the totality of the season, what's the Trent 70 was saying, there were those games that he captured. There were so many other games that were just so bad. You know what I mean? But it did show that they could with the injuries. You're right. There's the Broncos game is the best game for me because I felt like better than any of those other games. That team was played at a high level, and your team competed. The Broncos were one of the best. You're talking about a team that went to the AFC Championship game. Should have probably went to the Super Bowl if their quarterback doesn't get hurt. But went to the AFC Championship game, and they played them tough. That is, if you want to look at any game to me, and that doesn't mean a win. People look at the Chargers game. That's a totally different game, but. The Broncos game arguably could have been their best game because the way they competed against one of the better teams in the NFL. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. Wins and losses don't always, for the season they had, wins and losses don't always matter to me because within that game, that game they lost, and I felt like that was the best game they played this season.
Right, because again, and the best game they played, but also the first half of the Kansas City game. It was a great game. They
for
showed effort for the defense.
Yeah,
for the defense, right? For the defense, they showed again. We talk about effort. I know people don't want to hear about effort, but they still played with better during those times when Dan Quinn was calling the defense. Not only did Dan Quinn talk about the defense, but he also talked about some new coaches, right? Some people got promoted. let's give that. Some people got promoted. Some people we had Darnell Stapleton is the new offensive line coach. All right, he's there. DJ Williams is a quarterback coach for the Washington Commanders. Wes Walker transitioning to a role on the offensive side of the ball.
I like that one. That one I do like a lot.
I like that one. Eric Henderson, right, is a defensive line coach.
I like that one too.
Right, and William Gay has been promoted to the cornerback coach.
Really, that one caught me off guard.
So before we get to the coordinators, before we get to the coordinators, any thoughts on any of the position coaches moving up and moving there? I know people talk about DJ Williams, and we talk about the word nepotism get thrown around. Let's be on. We real here, right? The word.
I think there's a clip, right, where Coach Quinn talks about.
Is there a clip for that? Yeah, I would like to hear that.
He was asked. He was certainly asked about that, and so
give me a second. I'm gonna find it. Y'all keep going.
Yeah, because I would like to hear that one. Because I've said. All right, I've said my piece about it. I get it. I've said my piece about it.
Let us know if you found that, Glenn. Because
I will.
I said my piece. I don't want to, because I like Doug. I met Doug, so I met Doug on the airplane and airports. So that's all I will say. I'll just be quiet.
I think I see the question. I think if Coach Quinn didn't mention a name or shift, then that means that they're still there.
And technically, though, Anthony Lynn was changed from run game coordinator to running backs coach. Is that right?
He was always the running back coach as well.
That's what I thought, but it was like they listed that like it was new, and somebody was saying that he's not the run game coordinator anymore, which I thought was odd.
Oh, I don't know about that. But he was both previously, and Coach Quinn, Glenn was just mentioning, all of the those were the updates that Glenn that Coach Quinn mentioned today.
Interesting. What we got here, Paul? I'm reading some of the comments. I'm gonna read some. Glenn, I'm gonna read some of the comments while you're looking for it. Paul said, honestly, the defense was bad from the jump. The surprise is how stale Cliff's offense got. Yeah, offense was bad. I mean, this is the thing, man. Like when Jayden being out, they were still able to move the football at times with Marcus Mariota. They had some games where they didn't look bad. The Atlanta game, he took picks, but they moved the ball. The Broncos game, the Broncos defense is one of the best defenses in the league. They're moving the football with Mariota. Like Cliff deserves a lot of blame, but I ain't gonna lie to you. Some players need to step up too. I was on that route too. Cliff deserves a lot of blame, but some of these players need to step up. You know what I mean? Like we talked about this on the show, and we've said this throughout the season. Like folks got Hollywood after 2024, and they're just gonna have to sometimes you got to be humble, and that's just anything. But it's natural, and I do want to say this too is like anybody who plays sports who's had success in anything. Like if you go into a situation you have instant success, it's easy to kind of feel yourself. Yeah, and I'm saying as a whole, it's easy to feel yourself. And honestly, that's coaches, that's players, that's everybody. That's not no one's immune to that. You know what I mean? That on this team for 2025 to 2020 in the 2025 season, nobody's immune for that. But everybody got to step up. The people who are feeling themselves, they got to step up. Okay, yeah. Glenn,
definitely got to step up. But here's the with Dan Quinn's comments on hiring DJ Williams.
And with the DJ hire, obviously a cool story right off the bat with father and son here in the building. But what did you like about DJ and what he did in Atlanta? Did Doug have any influence over the?
Yeah, I'll tell you some good stories on these. I've known DJ for a while, dating back to times in Atlanta. He was in New Orleans, so I had a chance to initially get to know him then. And he's always been somebody that I've kind of kept my eye on about what he's doing and where he's at. And so had a chance to also visit with Raheem about, where he was and his growth there. And it just came across so strongly, to everybody that I spoke with, about him, about what he's doing and where he's headed and the influence that he has. I didn't involve Doug at all. And like, quite honestly, I was like first nervous to even bring it up to say, what if he doesn't get it and how would that go? And I'm like so glad I didn't listen to that response, because I remember getting off the Zoom the first time. I said, holy shit, man, he was excellent. And so we interviewed, some more people, and I went down to Doug's office. Hey, man, we hired a quarterback coach, and I think you know him. And so it was a very cool moment about that. But he and I didn't discuss him going. I'm certain he was a good recruiter on the other side of it, but it was a cool thing. But it was almost like I wanted the separation, not the connection. I knew that part would take care of itself.
Okay, whatever.
Whatever. You gotta earn that keep. It helps, you know what I mean? But you gotta earn your keep.
It sound good. I ain't gonna lie, that sound good. Like Doug did, like he ain't say nothing to Doug. Like, look, I like both individuals.
I think he probably kept it separate. I mean, he probably went and told him he knew, and like he said, Doug was probably advocating on the other side, so it wasn't like Doug wasn't aware.
Okay,
so like he said, I think he told the truth. He's so certain that Doug was advocating on this, of course.
I'm just saying, all right. It sound good. I'm just gonna say it sound good. It sound good.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with. It sounds good. I'm gonna agree with both of you guys on this. It sounds good, but I'm also gonna agree with Candy. You got to earn your keep, right?
You got to earn it.
So you hear most. Let's be honest. We honest in the real world. Most people got jobs because of who they know.
Of course,
right.
Yep.
Of who you know more so than what your resume says. Yes, about who you know and who worked in that job. Do you know somebody that worked there? Somebody that can vouch for you. Somebody in your look that can look out for you, man, my boy. So again, it's nothing different, right? So now, but once you get there, you have to earn your keep. We'll know because he's the quarterback coach, right? We'll know if Jayden can take some steps and some developments. Can we see something different in Jayden's game? You'll see how. Again, not even that. The key point I think was that I wish Taj were on here, and I'm like Taj. The interaction between him and stays on here. Taj, the interaction between Jayden and DJ, right? To look at the interaction between those two. Are they close? But because remember, David Blough and Jayden were close, right? They had a good relationship.
Right, Candy are close, right? They're close, right? Candy?
Yeah. So they're close. So you see how they interact in meetings and see how that flows, and if he can build a relationship not only with Jayden, but again with the other quarterbacks who may be here in Washington.
I mean,
I hope that.
Go ahead, George. Go ahead.
Nepotism at the quarterback coach is one thing. At least it ain't nepotism at the offensive coordinator, like a certain offensive coordinator that was here that I ain't gonna name.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That one. Yes, that one.
That was bad. Yeah, that was bad. That. Oh yeah, definitely. You talking about Ron's boy?
Yes. No, Norv's boy.
Well, no, Ron's boy. No, Ron. No, he's Ron's boy.
He's Ron's boy.
That's Norv's son.
But he's
that's
Norv's son. Yeah, that's Norv's son. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that like I agree with everything. Like at the end of the day, however you get in the building is how you get in the building. It's all about like you. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to stand on what you do. You know what I mean? On your production. If you're productive, then it doesn't matter anymore. But if it comes in and but again, I don't see because David Blough is the coordinator. I don't see like it being a Jayden having a problem because I think Jayden has a comfort level with David Blough. I think David Blough will still probably be more hands-on with Jayden Daniels, to be honest with you. That's my opinion.
I want not
what you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I don't know if we want to jump to any of those kind of clips because I know we were talking about DQ's presser, but like that was one of the clips we had. I think it was part of like maybe it was Com's question right off the bat to Coach Blough, which was like, "Were you surprised?"
Mm-hmm.
No.
Surprised about Williams
getting a job.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
You got the clip.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Glenn's on mute. Yeah, the Glenn's on mute.
I'm back. Let's go to DQ's vision first. Vision of the offense.
Because there's a lot of clues up in there.
Let's go there.
DQ's vision for the offense. Then we'll go to David Blough.
You talked about your vision, and it comes from you down to the coordinators. What is your vision for the offense, and kind of what's your role in implementing that vision for the offense?
Yeah, and it'll look different, JP, in some ways as we're still kind of building some of the things together. But this is going to be like an aggressive, balanced attack, but like that will probably have more under center than we have in the past. That's also for run action and play passes to generate explosive plays. And so we're going to try to feature every part of Jayden in the way that makes him unique and special. But also the run action and the runs and the play action game that goes with it. Those are all things to generate explosive plays. I think, as like David was speaking on earlier, when we're here a year from now and we talk about the generating the explosive plays, those are a few of the things that's going to come to mind when we're talking about our offense.
The one word that I heard that I love is 2 words. Under center.
Under center. That was the biggest thing. That was the biggest takeaway. Seriously. And the whole thing. Right? Because how many times did everybody ask that question? Right? How many times was that question asked? Whether it was Jay nor Marcus. Right? Why aren't there more snaps taken under center? Okay. Now, like one clue I gave you all during the season, I'm not going to say that it hadn't been suggested. It hadn't been discussed. All I know is it's not happening on game day. Okay. So now that this is a public thing, and of course, Coach Blough, brought it up, but it's you got to do what's best for the system in the offense. And when something's not working, why didn't you change it? So you're learning. That goes back to, learning, the mistakes. Is this an understanding from the beginning, right? And so it was like, I could go down a rabbit hole about that whole thing. But there's still questions around even that. But I thought his vision was super duper clear.
But the other part of the vision was run the football.
Right.
Right. Because again, those 2 things, the things that you can do with Jayden well, run the football. We all talked about running the football last year. Short yardage situation, right? You brought up earlier the Minnesota game, right? You're down on the 1 or 2 yard line, and you go 3 passing plays where your boy Chris Rodriguez already picked up 45 yards on the whole series, right? On that drive. And you get to the red zone and you throw the ball.
And he on the sideline.
He's on the sideline, and you don't go on the center, and you got a 6-foot-something quarterback who could get you 1 yard if you just go quarterback sneak. And I can't, George, maybe y'all can help me out. Did Washington even go quarterback sneak last year? Anybody in the chat know? Was they ever?
Maybe with Marcus once or twice.
Yeah,
maybe with Marcus once or twice.
Maybe.
Yeah, Marcus.
Something else that caught me. He talked about the play, pass, and running the football. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I feel like, are we seeing kind of a return to somewhat of a traditional offense with David Blough? Are we going to see, not a lot of pistol, maybe even a little I formation here and there? Is that what we're going to get?
No.
No.
You're going to see pistol.
Okay. Super. Nah. Let me drink some water on that. And that's because you could in certain moments, yes, George, but he's innovative. That's just how he's wired, I think. You know what I'm talking about? Some people are just like, oh, let's do this and let's do this. You know what I mean? But you're going to see some traditional things for sure, for certain.
Little smash mouth football.
For sure, going to be some razzle dazzle.
I want to share this because while we talk about under center, Blough talks about Jayden under center more next year, and kind of go hand in hand. So here we go.
Hey, Coach. One thing Dan mentioned was that he anticipates Jayden will be under center a little bit more next year. I wonder why you thought that was important going forward.
Yeah, I think it opens up, right, the, some different schemes in the run game, some things that I believe in. It opens up different play actions and keepers and getting them on the perimeter in different ways. I think there's a level of communication that happens under center. I think there's different ways to go about things, and it's something that I'm convicted about, that with his skill set, his fundamentals, the things that we absolutely loved about him when he first got here still ring true, and as we grow and develop. I think a lot of teams that you saw even playing deep into the playoffs, it was something that was a foundation of what they did, and I think that is something that we will like to implement with him and get him in that position.
Yeah, I think he'll play again. I think it'll be a mixture of everything, because I mean,
Sure.
Jayden, if you look at his whole career of playing quarterback and college to the pros, he's been in predominantly shotgun pistol offenses. Arizona State, LSU, and here. So it's gonna be, but at the end of the day, just because you've been in these offenses all of your pretty much from college to the pros, you're gonna need somebody to test you. So you gotta, you're gonna have to learn to be under center, because like Coach Blough said, I totally agree. There's more that you can run out of under center than running shotgun all the time and being in shotgun all the time. He's still gonna be in shotgun a lot. I don't think that's changing. That's just today's NFL though. Of these young quarterbacks, they like being in shotgun. But the good thing is that he'll get more opportunity to be under center. So this team won't be as predictable, which is very important.
I think Coach Quinn was asked too. I don't know if you have this one pulled up, Glenn, about what made him convinced that Coach Blough was ready for this. I know a lot of people, there's been a question. He answered the question about both coordinators, right? He was asked about Blough, and of course he was asked about Daronte, because here's the reality. These two hires are not necessarily the Dan Quinn norm.
They're not. But here we go.
What gives you the confidence that David Blough is ready for this as a play caller?
Yeah. I know he hasn't been coaching a long time, but he has, obviously when you're a backup quarterback at different things, you had different experiences, much like a younger coach coming up. But I can also speak from experience that, when you haven't called plays, you've been waiting for it, you've been doing it. And in the practices, you'll probably find some spaces where do we go to have more call it periods to go. But we'll be really intentional about that. Some of the benefits of me going through this experience, as a head coach for the second time, I learned some lessons to say, all right, when there's a talented space and you can find that, certainly going through Atlanta and some of the coaches that were part of that staff, have we done things different? You might have. So I think what you want to find out from yourself is, are you growing? Are you learning? And this guy's absolutely ready to go attack. And so it was evident to see that. But when you're around somebody a lot, you know that too.
No, he's definitely ready. He's ready. I'm starting the more and more I listen and hear what Blough has to offer. I am impressed. But also I'm the same person. I gotta see it to believe it. I gotta see how you are, and I gotta see how it works in camp. I gotta see the vibe. Actually, I ain't gonna lie to you. I need to see week 1. That's how I kind of really. I'm over camp and preseason.
You already know. I'm
over it.
I'm like, look, I need to see what you're doing.
I gotta see them get week 1. I ain't even home. I'm over. I'm even over camp. I'm even over pre. I'm even over there. I want to week 1.
So I think Wole, I want to help. I think I want to give you a different perspective, because
go for it.
Not in training camp and preseason last.
I'm sure. I know we did. We did learn.
We
did.
We were like, oh no.
Yeah, we did.
I can laugh about it now, but I was so devastated. I was like, "Oh God!" But I feel, but it's just I don't know. You should see a little bit, at least maybe. And this is probably way too soon to be bringing this up, right, in February. But it was we could still tell so much, even from the depth perspective, that this isn't going to look good.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. Even if it's kind of vanilla, you still got to see something.
Yeah,
talk
I
about
agree.
aggressiveness and all that. Remember, like last year, we didn't see none of that.
Yeah, all talk. It's always talk. It's always nice talk.
Yeah, it's crazy because I feel like I could go back and think at camp last year where there would be days that I was like, was that a good practice? I don't feel like in the year before, maybe because it was so new, I would be like, whoa.
It was energetic. It was so energetic the year before.
Gosh, right? Because it was so different than what we're used to. Now, last year, that was like watered down, like super watered down compared to what we were used to the year prior. So I'm like, I'm trying to see, I think camp, and especially if they do a joint practice, that'll be good stuff, to know like what's happening here. And even just the comfortability in play calling. True, you're not gonna know until week 1. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But it's like this is an experiment. I feel like it's an experiment that I think we all feel good about it. But it's still an experiment nonetheless. I think last year was more of this isn't an experiment anymore. Everybody stayed. We know what we're doing, and everybody was extremely disappointed. So it'll be interesting.
One thing Blough said that I thought was interesting from his press conference was this. He talked about Jayden's Jayden's ability to absorb information, right? We think about and that's something that's key because this is Jayden's second coordinator. Let's not get it fooled twisted. He is some things different he's going to learn. They're not bringing the Cliff Kingsbury stuff in. So we'll see how much information Jayden will absorb and can absorb from Blough and how effective he can run this offense. And I don't want to just focus on Jayden. I want to focus on who the backup quarterback may be, how much and how easy it is for them to absorb this information that Blough is translating to them. Because we know we had a good quarterback, backup for the last couple of years, Marcus Mariota. Not 100% sure if Marcus is going to be here, free agency, all this other stuff. So it has to be something that transitions to the information has to be able to transition, and Jayden also might have to become the teacher in the room as well.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't. Nobody asked today. It was on my list, but there's a bunch of stuff on my list, which I'm sure is a bunch of stuff on everybody's list. But the only thing maybe close to that was just what Blough had to say about skill position players. It's a clip of that. I think that does matter for sure.
And after that,
congrats.
Sorry.
Congrats on the new gig. Understandably, a lot of talk about Jayden here, but I'm curious, how do you feel about the rest of this offense, specifically your skill position players?
Yeah, for sure. Right now we've got 23 guys under contract on the offense, and I feel really good about it, man. I really do. 6 in the wide receiver room, returning Terry obviously at the top of the group, and it's our opportunity. It's our challenge to get the best out of every single guy in the skill position groups and up front, man. We bring back so many guys who played a ton of snaps on the offensive line, and the continuity there is going to be key. And a group that played really well last year, and so as much as we can, it's about the next 70 days for our coaching staff, evaluating our own players, acquiring new players, to figure out what we do best, and then implementing it so that 200 days from now when we take the field, 220 days from now when we take the field, that we have put in a ton of work to put our guys in a position, teach what they do really well, to be at their best week 1. So I think we got a long way to go, but I think it's going to be a fun construction process.
Go ahead, George.
I'm curious about David Blough because he communicated. He's had a relationship with Jayden Daniels. That's great. Most offensive coordinators talk to the quarterback a lot. How is his communication going to be with the other offensive coaches and the other players that are not Jayden Daniels? I don't know if anybody asked about that, but that's something I'm very curious about with David Blough, because I know that's not the biggest part of being an OC, but I think it is important.
Communications with the rest of this team.
Yeah, with the rest of the offense that's not Jayden.
Well,
we know that him and Jayden get along pretty well.
Yeah, one of the quotes that he said was this. I looked at that too, George. I had the same comment, had to look it up. He emphasized the collaboration, staff environment, right? He talked about pulling experiences from coaches who worked with other legends, like Tom Brady, like Drew Brees. So he wanted to make sure that there's a big collaboration. And Dan also talked about the collaboration as well, about being a collaborative staff, right? And he would think about. We talked about Anthony Lynn coming back. If David Blough, a young coordinator, you got Anthony Lynn, former head coach, Dan Quinn, former head coach. You have Bobby Ingram, who was, I believe, still wide receiver coach, is still there, right? So you got some of the guys who played in the league 10, 11, 12 years who's been around. He has a good staff to learn from if he's willing to be open to let those guys pour into him.
Yeah, I think to that point, and I like that question, George, because it to me, your question kind of leans in on the depth. I feel like, right? Because it's like, what happens when Jayden goes out? What happens when Zach Ertz goes out? What happens when Austin Eckler? I'm just naming the number one play, who were in that spot last year is what I'm saying. And I probably shouldn't have used the running back room because they were okay. They were fine. But you get what I'm saying? It's like the communication needs to be happening across the board. The learning, the relentless teaching needs to be happening across the board, not just with one player in one position group. Is that where I'm getting at? Would you asking, George? Because because I agree. Everybody, because depth matters. Okay, they matter. Clearly, we learned that last year. It really, really matters, and it's hard to stay healthy through January if that's what you aspire to do and be. And so, that will probably be something that will be a learning thing for him, probably for both coordinators. And maybe Coach Blough has some of that already. I know he has a really great relationship with Darnell Stapleton, right? All the coaches are still there, right? So Coach Darnell, was promoted from within as well. Everybody you named, Glenn, basically. Coach Rye, for sure, the tight ends coach. So it will be interesting to see how he gathers his unit for certain.
Do we have another clip?
Yeah, we do. Let's go to a couple comments. Got a bunch of them. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's go here because I think we talk about the staff, and Blough wants to build a staff, deal with adversity a little bit. We talk about the staff. Here we go.
Hey there. So you've been here for a bit now. You've experienced the high of the high and a bit lower last year. Sure. So what have you learned about this staff and just being here, dealing with the adversity that you all did last year?
Yeah, I think you learn a ton in both seasons, right? You learn, some of that perseverance, isn't always about strength. Like perseverance sometimes about direction, and Dan Quinn has always been a steady presence for us, and he has just pointed us in the right direction, and you see that through and through, whether it was 12-5 or 5-12, so his pouring into me, I have felt from the first day, I have felt that for me, but I've seen it for every single member of our organization, and that's something that you can't overlook when you make decisions that you want to be a part of this, and so that was really special. And then I think on the coaching staff, you learn, in the hard days that there's a lot of men in this group that we can get in the foxhole together, and we're going to go battle it out, and we're going to treat each other with respect. We're going to communicate at a high level and go and really go after this thing.
Yeah, man. He says a lot of. Dan Quinn, for a lot of people, you kind of hear it there, like the admiration for Dan Quinn, what Candy's been talking about. Mm-hmm. There is an appreciation for what Coach Quinn brings to the table with players and these coaches. I know, you can have your detractors. Everyone has their detractors.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in terms of we just take people for face value and what they've said on camera or any of these pressers, they appreciate him, man. There's something about being a leader of men, and a captain. So I think he has that. Now, does that compound into wins and losses? A whole different discussion. But in terms of having people play hard for him, I don't really think you can really deny it, because I think certain coaches they admire him a lot. Even guys who are not in this building. We talked about Mike McDaniels, who's in Miami, who talks about how much what Dan Quinn did for him. Now you're hearing what David Blough saying, how much it was invested into him. He pretty much put his neck on the line for Joe Witt Jr. So obviously he's like a loyal individual. So I just think that, like, from that conversation, for what we just heard right now, you could just tell that Dan Quinn does have that leadership quality that a lot of coaches that you want your coach to have.
Yeah, he's got it. He nails it. Every time he nails it. I think that in the end of season show we did, I had shared the clip of the group interview. Who was it? Like Trent Scott, Von Miller.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think Nick Allegretti came over there. Did Jacob come over there? It was a bunch of them. Jacob did come over there. And so
Jacob Martin, he came over there.
Jacob
Martin.
And so Von Miller said the rumors about Dan Quinn are true. And when he said that, I was like, because that's the thing. I mean, these guys, they talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fraternity. It's a family in itself. And they want to know, who is this guy? Yeah, I've been hearing this. The rumors about Dan Quinn are true. That's why I said, okay, if you don't believe me, believe these people, because they're not selling wolf tickets on this one. I mean, you got to even look at how he treats the media and understanding. I mean, he knows our name, like he makes it a point. I think you all may have seen how they honored the Washington Post.
Oh, it's crazy.
Reporters from the Washington Post said that Dan Quinn sent them a text.
That's wild.
Let's be clear. The logistics thing with the mic today was kind of, it's debatable whose mistake that was. It's debatable. Okay. But the point of the matter is, I still had a question, and guess what? He answered it. Might not have been in the presser, but I had something important that I wanted to get for the show, for content, for what we need to do for the channel. And he honored that. So those are small things, but it's a big thing because he didn't have to respond back to me.
Right.
Come on. Like, he didn't have to respond to that. Like, what? They should have asked the question when she had the chance. Oh, well, you gave up the mic. That's on you. And so, and there's been times where they ran out of questions, and I'm like, please, I just got one more question. And he's like, walk and talk, let's go. And we're supposed to be walking and talking, and he stops and he's just talking to me. And he does that. He's that type of guy. I think, though, the challenge is the scheme part of it. I'm going to always keep going back to the scheme part of it. You need to get that game planning, that scheming, that ready for game day strategy and being able to execute it effectively. But from a culture, right? I mean, we learned last year, culture don't win football games. We learned that last year, okay? But it can get you there, and it can get people revved up, and it can get the best out of people. But then when your coordinators are not putting people in the best position to succeed, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
I do think it's important, if you guys don't mind, I know we're going to go to some clips. I see a comment in the chat about Coach Blough. And I would like to say, I've watched Coach Blough. Yeah. I've watched him work for 2 years. And let me tell you something. I don't think Jayden Daniels really exudes all that much confidence either when he's sitting in a press conference, because some people don't like to do media. But trust me when I tell you, they turn up on that football field. They turn up. So, I want to make sure when somebody who's on site regularly, you know what type of person you're dealing with. He's not cool, calm, and collected like Cliff. Cliff is going to be chill all the time. But there's a lot of what I like to call X's and O's, goons that are very, like, media is hard.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson is a certain type of way in front of the media.
Ben Johnson don't like being in front of the media either. He just started acting.
He don't like people.
He don't like being in front of the media either. Ben Johnson don't either. So he just started. He just started opening it up. Yeah.
Only because he has to. Because of his role. He would prefer most of them. Let's be clear. Yeah. Most of them, as you guys know, would prever never talking to us.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Good. Yeah. Ben Johnson's the CM Punk of the NFL. That's a whole different.
He's not going. I mean, and hey, listen. Let's go. You know, I'm not trying to get in the Hall of Fame conversation. Bill Belichick is the epitome of not showing any level of emotion, confidence. So need a Red Bull.
That's a good point. That's a good example.
He's going to beat your, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay.
On to Cincinnati.
Hey, we see. But you know, so we know David.
Don't judge that book by its cover. Take my word for it. He and Jayden have very similar personalities. You know, Jayden is a cool, calm, and collected guy, but he a different person behind that.
I think sometimes as a coach, or sometimes as a coach, and sometimes you tell players. You know, we have a thing that we talk about: not too many high highs, not too many low lows.
That's right.
And so sometimes you stay even keel, even though you're emotional, until you in that atmosphere, or you in that zone. We know that David Blough wasn't the only coordinator that Dan Quinn hired, and Dan Quinn talked about today. He talked about why he hired Daronte Jones.
At the end of the season, you had indicated that whoever you hired would probably be somebody that had done this before.
Yep.
He has not done it at the NFL level before. Yep. So how did he kind of overcome that desire of yours?
Yeah, that's good. I think when you're going through the whole process, you're looking at those strengths of where it is, where would my time and attention go, knowing, all right, what's going to be different offensively, what would be different defensively. I'm glad it went through a lengthy process, to be honest with you, DA, because it forced me into some spaces to look and what could be different and what could be better. And so Daronte was one of those people that you meet, you're like, all right, I get it. And I connected with him instantly about a vision for defense and how you'd play, the ability to create takeaways, the ability to have disguises. And so I felt alignment even before we got to know each other well. We've all had those experiences where, like, you meet somebody, you just hit it off. I think from a football standpoint, we hit it off quickly. And then that's what made the difference to me, knowing that there was excellent veteran coaches and guys who didn't have as much experience, but just weighing it through it all. And I came back to him time and time again of just the teaching, the football acumen and what we were looking for. And it just really fit what we needed.
First off, shout out to you, Candy, and Bowie TV for the clips. We appreciate them. Real talk.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yes. Got you in our partnership. We got y'all.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna ask you, do you feel like, and look, he a PG County dude. I'm rooting for him. I'm happy that he got the gig, to be real with you. And because I like his pedigree. I like where he came from. I like some of the coaches he's coached with. I even like, him coaching in the SEC at LSU. But was he like the first choice?
I don't necessarily know if he was the first choice.
Yeah.
But I do know, aside from what was shared publicly, is that he absolutely rocked his interview.
Gotcha.
That Coach Quinn, and it's one of those situations where it's like, hey, listen, if Brian Flores isn't coming, you get the next best option. You get his understudy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And he was great. He was excellent. To my understanding, he was really, really good. And he has great experience. When he really, in his presser, when he really kind of laid out his experience, and of course you can go and look it up online. You're like, this dude, and we talked about this before, who he's learned under.
Mm-hmm.
And so even some of his answers, when we were like, you're going to do a 4-3-3-4, he was like, hey, we can do a little bit of everything, but that's what you want.
Yeah.
Because if you're publicly in February telling people what you're going to run.
Yeah, you ain't gonna do that, but we got that clip for you too, though. Here we go.
Thank you, appreciate you.
You have all kinds of, you mentioned different experiences. I just wonder if you have a sense of 3-4 or 4-3 just at the jump, just off the outset for this group.
Multiple. I think 3-4, 4-3. They're just numbers, still 7-man spacing. So I always say it's not how they line up, it's how they wind up. And so you can create that number system in numerous ways.
It's not how they line up, it's how they wind up. Listen,
how they want.
That's a great line.
Put it on a shirt. Put that on a shirt. Because let me tell you.
Don't worry about it.
Listen, I was like, look, David Aldridge, I sit behind David Aldridge in the press conference, and I was like, I'm about to do my sidebar commentary. I'm about to do my peanut gallery commentary because I was like, yeah, man, that's what I was trying to tell people. It don't matter what it is. If you using these people correctly, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Just whatever, like you said. But I appreciated him. That lets you know right there. He like, ain't how they line up, it's how they wind up. That's right, coach. You done saying a bunch of stuff I like because you can't just give it away.
Correct.
You can't. You cannot. Here's something I said, not to interrupt you guys. I think this is a very, very, very important point because I've been saying this on the show, and hopefully you all agree with me, and those in the chat agree with me. Hey, listen, what Mike McDonald just did and what he's done over the last 2 years with the Seattle Seahawks, he just changed the game for defenses. He just changed the game. Now, last year, what we saw the Eagles do was phenomenal. Now, that pressure up front defenses, they really gave Patrick Mahomes hell.
They did.
In that season. But what Mike McDonald did this season, and then all postseason in the Super Bowl, as the first defensive play caller to win a Super Bowl, head coach and defensive play caller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He just shifted it because every time, y'all know I've been on the Seattle Seahawks a lot, okay? And my thing with the Seattle Seahawks was it didn't matter who they were playing. They did that to people all year.
Except for the Rams, though. Except for the
Rams. The Rams gave them a go. The Rams started, going off the rails on special teams. And remember, after that game, that's why they fired their special teams coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they probably did. Yeah, they need to rehaul their special teams because it's not good at all. Mm-hmm. But other than that, within their division in the NFC West, like you were saying earlier, that is a very good division. The ante is up.
Yes.
Of what we back to defense wins championships because let me tell you, we saw them do it, and the Patriots defense was good too. Word to Christian Gonzalez. All right, man. It was very, very good. You all have heard me go on large rants about the Texans, the Houston Texans. But for Seattle to do what they did all season, literally, and kept that level of intensity and was ready for whatever offense came their way. Oh yeah, it ain't how they line up, it's how they wind up. And when he said that, I said, oh, he know what time it is. He know. And I asked the question about what he's seen in NFL offenses. That was strategic on my behalf because I want to know. I already know you know what you're watching, but I really want to hear what you say. If you can play that clip, I don't know how I worded it, but
yeah, I think it is right here.
Yeah, you mentioned the names that you've coached with. How do they shape your defensive philosophy, and what is it that you want to bring here?
Versatility, adaptability, using our players' strengths to the best of their ability, maximizing what they do, being a feature of that, and then minimizing the things that they don't do well. And each coach has provided a certain way of highlighting whoever that athlete may be and whatever that strength may be that allow them to get to their highest level. And so my ability and learning from those guys in terms of how to tap into each individual player, and each individual player is different. But it all starts with the relationships. And the biggest thing that I've gotten is in this profession is how to attack and relate to players and connect with those guys. And that starts with the relationships aspect of it. And what does that mean? That starts with trust.
See, I'm trying not to be overly bullish right here. I'm not trying not to be.
Let me say,
maximizing the talent.
That wasn't the one. So we're going to get to the one. I have to tell you what his name, but I'm glad you picked that one because that was a very important point that he made there, Glenn. So that was the right call in pulling that one. And like he says, it starts with trust. Oftentimes people ask me about the relationships I build or what I'm doing and everything, right? And I talk about connection and I talk about trust. These men and women who support this staff, they are away from their families and their loved ones all the time. In order for you to be great, you can't be home most of the time. Okay? You have to dedicate your life to this. You have to dedicate to be great, to have success, right? You have to. So who else you gonna trust if you don't trust your coach? Just go back to Dan Quinn and the culture he's built. When I heard Coach Jones say that, I said, you know, we got to remember, they don't know this dude. They don't know him, right? So you got to build that relationship so that these guys can trust that you are putting them in the best situation to succeed. Because guess what? You might feel some type of way because the last coordinator didn't do you any, he didn't do the right thing in that way. In that way, and truly maximizing the strengths. And that builds with trust, getting to know you, building that connection and knowing, yes, I want the best for you. And oh, by the way, I can see more in you. Now, with some players that I might have had questions on, but these three players did come up today. Frankie Louvu came up. Well, DA asked the question about Frankie. So Frankie came up. Mikey Sanders still came up. Quan Martin came up. And those were three players that I told you, I would say it all the time consistently. These players played in every single game. Why did they regress like this? Why does it look like this? That was one of the things. I said, it's too many people. 1, 2, 3. That's too many people that are not, they just not on the same trajectory, which would mean in my when I'm using my clues and taking in my data, it's the scheme. It's a scheme. Something isn't right here because all three of them are not just gonna go like this. So I appreciate everything he said there, and it starts with trust. He talked about joy, and starting with joy, that was one of the things that came up. I don't know if I have that clip though, but in terms of where it starts with, in terms of buzzwords, remember last year, one of the things that we mentioned was where was the fun? In 2024, it seemed like they were having, they were winning, but even in training camp, in practice, in September, they looked like they were having a ball. They were just having so much fun. And it showed. And I remember Coach Quinn talking about joy a few times. Of course, this year they weren't talking about nothing, but it has to start somewhere. And it starts with trust, and it starts with joy. Is why I agreed with it, because he's new to this. He's new to the role. So I was happy to hear him say those things, because at least in my view, in game watching and film watching, I know those were three players that I said, they're way better than that output that's showing up on game day. Here's
Daronte's view on Frankie.
With regard specifically to Frankie Louvu, they used him in different ways for each of the first two seasons. I wonder what you think his best utilization of his talent and skill set would be.
Love Frankie Louvu. Watch him on tape. He's a guy that before I even got here that we would watch and put on the tape in our meeting room. I love his athleticism. He's best going downhill, getting them matched up on running backs. That's always a key. You're going to hear that a lot in terms of matchability and putting guys in advantageous positions. He's best when he can go downhill, use his athleticism, win on edges, use his speed, so time, distance, and space to encounter those matchups. And you want to put him in that situation where he's matched up on the running back. And I think running backs are one of the guys on offense that gets the least amount of reps and protections.
He said a lot.
He said a lot. Goes back to what we spoke about earlier. Putting people, we said it all the time here. You have the right people on the bus, but they're in the wrong seat.
They're in the wrong seat.
And so sometimes he's looking and he's talking that he's going to try to put Frankie in the right seat, whether that's that linebacker coming downhill. Again, that goes to what everyone says. You got to have that nose guard who's able to take up that space to help that linebacker to come downhill. So again, looking to if that brings the excitement back to Louisville, or have the year that he had in 24 where he was an All-Pro, then we'll take that. But you know, and that's the one of the things that you got to look at. He's under contract. He's here.
Right.
Why not get the best out of him? He's not going anywhere.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's go ahead, Candy. Go ahead.
Yeah, he mentioned, and that's another thing that I wanted to, because I saw a lot of people talking about who Coach mentioned, and a lot of people that he mentioned today are players that are under contract.
Mm-hmm.
So don't read. I would not read too deep into like how he worded them or like how he named them or anything like that. I think he's dealing with who is under contract, because here's the reality: you don't know who's going to come back.
Exactly. Because
people can do what they want to do. They can choose somewhere else. They legit can. There's 31 other teams. So it's not like, you know, the Commanders are the end all be all. And some people may feel like they don't want to deal with another new coordinator already, because that's a lot too. You know, I mean, they're going to deal with another new one somewhere else. But, you know, it was a lot, to Paul's question. There was a lot of expectations, and it just did not go well at all. So some people might be like, I want to go closer to home. I want to go somewhere warmer. I want to go do this, do that, because at least if it's not good, I want to be somewhere near my family, or I want to do this or that. It's a lot of things to consider. It's not, you know, and that's one of the things that I'm learning. It's like, you can't think about this as the only team that exists. Like I've been saying, you know, there's a lot of desirable things about this team for sure. But just keep that in mind. A lot of what he mentioned and who he mentioned today in the presser overall are those players that are under contract. So I just mentioned that. Not being a jerk. I'm just saying, like, and I'm saying, not saying he's incorrect either. I'm just saying their players are not under contract.
Yeah. Do you think it's a complete reconstruction with those guys that Daronte's got to do, or is it just a matter of we're going to put you in the right position and that's going to rebuild your confidence?
Go ahead, Glenn.
I think it's about putting them in the right position, because he also said, to answer your question, George, I'm going to show a clip that he talks about the players that he can't wait to see. So those are some of the players that he wants to see, and I think that's going to answer the question that you have.
Thank you. Coach John Duran with WUSA. You mentioned wanting to maximize all your players and be versatile. You mentioned Frankie Louvu as well. Any other guys that you've watched that you can't wait to get on the field with here?
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to speak with quite a few players already, and they're all excited to get going, just as I am. But I think the team is filled with some versatility players, and I think they can be used in several ways. You look at a Samerstill who was very versatile coming out of college, and the things that he was able to accomplish at the University of Michigan, not only winning the championship, but the way he done it, right, and how he led those guys there. When you talk to the guys from that championship team, everyone points to him as being the leader. You look at Quan Martin, who I know evaluating him coming out, you know, we were like, hey, is he a safety? Is he a nickel? Is he a corner? That's another guy that has versatility, you know. And then I think when you look at Will Harris and how he's able to move in the line of scrimmage, cover tight ends on the deep halves. You look at a Jordan McGee, another guy who's on the ball, off the ball. The list goes on and on. You look at Javon Kinlaw, who can play all different levels up front. And so the talent is there, the skill set is there. It's our job with the staff to maximize those skill talent. And I'm excited to work with the staff that we have. There's going to be a lot of collaborative effort going forward, and the communication, and we get a chance to teach, right? You know, talk about the foundation from ground up, and trying to connect to these players and find out how they learn. And I think that's the biggest thing going forward. To be able to utilize the versatility, you got to figure out how do they learn. We all, as human beings, we learn differently, right? And so each player is going to fall into one of the 4 categories of learning styles, and it's our responsibility to figure out if they're visual, auditory, read and write, or if it's kinesthetic learners, and that's our job to pull that out of them.
Now that right there, I said, let me tell y'all something right now. Daronte is a leader. He understands how to teach. This goes back to the relentless teaching. You all have heard me say, how are you communicating with these players? Sometimes it's about the communicator, but it's also about the receiver of the information. You got to know how they learn, and you have to willing to take the time and adjust whatever it is you need to adjust as the teacher to ensure that message is coming across in effectively for that person, whatever it is you need to do. And when I heard him say that, I said, oh yeah, he knows exactly what's going on. And it takes time to do that. It takes time to do that. I know that wasn't happening before. I don't mind saying it out loud now, right? It wasn't because you could tell. It wasn't even like you could see it.
Right.
You could be like, this doesn't work for him. And you can just, and so it needs to be one band, one sound, but it's like to get to the one, people learn in different ways. And so I do want to mention like what he said about Will Harris, because I don't think Will is under contract. He might be the only one, maybe. I don't think Will is. I think he was on a 1 year.
Wasn't deal. He wasn't a 2 year deal.
I think it was a 1 year deal.
I thought it was a 1 year. I could be wrong, but I thought he was a 1 year. But he was injured, and like he said, the list goes on and on. You can't call out everybody. You can't call out everybody. Because there's still is a lot of work. Yeah, you can't call out everybody
because you only got 23 dudes on the roster. You got to go get people, man. If you're the guy that you're calling out people, what's going to happen and what's going to take place is this: people are not going to want to play for you. But go ahead.
Appreciate the super chat, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Yay!
Thank you,
Lisa. But exactly where you can't call out everybody because as soon as somebody doesn't hear their name, and I also want to make sure that it's clear he's talking about versatility players. Okay, you can't necessarily have everybody as a versatility player.
Two-year deal.
Will is 2 year deal. Okay, all right. So yes, then I'm okay because I was just like, well, maybe Will was the only one. So yes, he kept it to who's on contract because that's the only. Thanks, Wole, and thanks, Scott. So he kept it, which I appreciated. I said, oh, he's good. You're going to keep it to who is on contract. So you see everybody talking about this person and that person and how he said it. He's talking about the people under contract.
Right. And I think you keep it simple. When you have versatile players, right, that means that no one offensively can get a gist of what you're doing. It also helps you disguise things a little bit better, too. I mean, look at the Seattle Seahawks on the other night. All the stuff they disguised and was able to get into the backfield. It was because they had guys coming from everywhere. And the blitzing, if you look at it, was also unorthodox, right? It was unorthodox. It was stuff that you could not guess what was coming. Regardless, they would blitz on first down, they would blitz on second down, they would bring guys up and let guys go back on a fourth down. You know what I'm saying? So dropping the coverage. So it was different. They was bringing the corner. They were bringing the corner off the edge, right? So again, you don't see that very much. But again, when you bring versatility to a defense, and you can play games and do different things like that, it makes offensive coordinators pull their hair out, and it gets hard for them. It definitely gets hard for them to move forward. So,
George, you have something you want to
add? No, yes, I got one thing. You hear stuff like this from Coach Jones, and what we've said about what Coach Blough has said, and what Candy's been saying, and I just wonder what the hell was going on last year that we were running such a bad operation like this. Because it feels like Coach Jones, Coach Blough are saying things that most coaches would say, and are saying they're going to operate the way most coaching staffs do. And what the hell were we doing last year?
Riding the wave, George. They were riding the wave. They were riding the wave, and that's why I was so concerned. Like, you're not the hunters. You can be hunters, but you need to understand you're being hunted. Remember, I will always be saying that. Like, why are they acting like people aren't coming for their spot? Okay, because you were already labeled as it being magic or something that wasn't real because of the 5 close games. If you take the 5 close games away, they only win 7. Right?
Right.
Which isn't too much different from this past year, given injuries, right? So you go from 7 wins potentially to 5. It ain't so bad technically when you know, because then you can literally say, well, they didn't win more than 7 and there's a first year of a recalibration, but they had all those injuries, so now it makes sense to have 5. Those 5 wins were also something that doesn't typically happen with those close games. It was the dunk to the division round. Let's be clear. It was the dunk to the division. So it wasn't like, I mean, they just ran out of time. I would say that all the time with the Atlanta Falcons game, even that season. The Commanders won the coin toss, and Jayden was hot. He was hot. Get him down the field and go. And I said, this is a game. I'm not getting up for this one because they about to win the game. Jayden on fire. He's on fire. He's still in this deal. He was exhausted. But he was going to seal the deal because they had the ball. And he was like, get me off of this field. I'm tired. And so, so that's why I always kept saying, you know, it was magical. It was a dream. And then people started getting hurt and nobody changed the freaking scheme. That's what I could never figure out. Like, what? Y'all didn't know they were coming? That's the challenge, right? That's what happened. They were riding the wave, and they just and Jayden got hurt. They just thought he was going to save him again.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit the like button.
Yes,
subscribe. You haven't subscribed. Super chats always appreciated. Yeah. What I will say about Coach Jones is like he got the gift of the gab. I'll give you that. Like he definitely does.
He's saying all the right things now.
Yeah, so it's like, but again, you know me, you know, like I'm trying not to be bullish on this dude. I'm actually trying to like take 2 steps back. I'm like, hey, I gotta, you know, I want to see what I gotta see it. But here you're saying all the right things though. So I get how everybody should be feeling a certain way. Because the thing about it is, I think in any coach, and I feel like this is for any good coach, in my opinion, you should want to utilize players in their best positions. You try to minimize their weaknesses, but minimize their usage and their weaknesses, but strengthen what they do best and utilize that. And I feel like that's something that, I mean, we begged for this team to do last year, and now hopefully we'll get to see that. Like, I don't want to. If I see Mikey lining up on the inside, I'm gonna be pissed off. I'm gonna be like, you ain't listening. I'm not listening to you anymore. Right. I'm gonna be real with you. If I see certain players, if I see Frankie in position to like try to cover a running back out the back or playing coverage, I'm gonna be pissed off. If I see Frank, honestly, even if I see Frankie his hand in the dirt trying to rush a passer, I'll be it's okay, but I don't even want to see him do that. I want to see Frankie blitzing. If I see Frankie blitzing a lot, then I know that you're using him to his best, to the best of his ability. I want to see this defense utilize these players of what they can do and not what they can't do. You know what I mean? And if I can see that, then I'm gonna be happy. Regardless of what happens. Oh, and Santiago, appreciate you. Appreciate you, man. You're dope, man. Always dope, Santiago.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. I gotta like. It's cool to hear change. Hear change is cool. Hearing change is amazing. I want to see change though. I want to see it. Like I want to see it. Like when you're competing in real time, like you know what I mean. And then I want to Candy's point, when if it's happening in camp, I want to see it. I want to see everybody fall in line with the culture. Like I don't care if you're about to get cut. Yeah. Like I think you need to be part of the culture. What I mean by that is when you're playing defense, you got to be part of the culture. Like yeah, you could be cut, but the way you play is a style that we know that. It's the culture now. That's really the culture. Like tackling is part of the culture. Yeah. Pressure, playing physical is really part of the culture. Like if it just if it's the first, like I mean, even to me, if your second string can't tackle, your third string can't tackle, then the culture is already jacked up. So I want to see basically, man. I want to see your verbiage match your energy. That's where I'm at personally. So, but I do like what he's saying. Like I like it more than the other. I ain't gonna lie to you. I like it more than the other DC. Because I felt like this had substance to it. It wasn't just defensive aggressive talk. This talk has more substance to it. It's like utilizing like 3-4 to 4. Like what he said there was dope. We're talking about utilizing these individuals and putting them in the best situation to be successful. That was dope. Like there was there was detail in what he was saying compared to, I'm sorry, not trying to be mean, but there was details of what he was saying without giving up a lot compared to the other defensive coordinator we had here in the building.
Right. I think you give up enough where people have to come for you and look at it. I think you give up enough that you encourage your players and those that's still in the locker room. You encourage them enough that you're also at this point, they know it, they're marketing and promoting. There's people that need to come to Washington. They need to fill a roster. So again, so you make sure that you hear that you're a friendly place with a guy or a person that you have great conversation with, but also a coach that can lead, demand, and get the respect of players. And I think that's the key. Can he do all those things and teach? Well, you talk about teaching, but again, talking about teaching and doing teaching is two different things.
I agree.
So because everybody can talk the good game, but when it comes, can the rubber meet the road? So
yeah, I like this comment by John. John is like,
when was that?
He wasn't like he interviewed last year for his head coaching jobs.
For what? Which job?
He did like did he interview for the he had a couple of interviews but he went in and interviewed, but I don't think he got it. But he didn't obviously he didn't get it, but he interviewed last year.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, he did. He did after last year. Yeah, it was after when they said he's a head coaching candidate. No, he was.
Hey, look, Paul said the same. When was that? Like,
I can look it up, bro. I can look it up because that's when I was laughing when it happened. I'll look it up for you.
So while you look that up, we're going to talk about Daronte on why Washington. Y'all talking about different jobs and things like so. Here's Daronte on why Washington.
And why was Washington the right fit? What was it about this coaching staff or this building or this locker room, these players that appealed to you?
Well, that's a loaded question. I mean, it's again, I grew up in the area. I grew up, wearing the burgundy and supporting the Washington organization. I went to elementary school, middle school, literally right across the street from where the stadium is in Palmer Park, Maryland. I went to Kenmore Middle School and I went to Matthew Henson Elementary. So growing up a diehard fan, the family's backing it. So when the opportunity came, I thought it was a win-win situation. I wanted to put my best foot forward. And then when you talk about the people in the building, such as Dan Quinn, such as Adam Peters, great ownership with Josh Harris and the crew. I want to say thank you for that, by the way. I didn't mean to say that. I want to start off just by thanking the ownership, Josh Harris, thanking Dan Quinn, thanking Adam Peters for the opportunity that they've afforded me. But when you're around certain people and you see the alignment of the organization, ownership, management, head coach, quarterback, it's a win-win for not only the DMV, but a win-win for me as well.
Yeah, it was the Jets job. He interviewed for the Jets job.
Yeah.
But he was a candidate for he was a candidate. I'm just saying, like regardless of how you regardless of how that's where he was. Like he was a candidate. For some folks wanted to interview, bring him in. I ain't say wanted to hire him is a different thing.
Right.
I just said interview as a candidate. Those are two separate things. But
he interviewed or
for the Jets. He interviewed for the Jets job.
He actually interviewed.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's how I probably didn't even retain that because I was
yeah, but like I mean, cool. being interviewed is like being a true candidate is a whole different. Well, I'm not gonna get into all that. Yeah. But I do. I mean, he's from PG County, man. I love when he mentioned the middle school. I just love it.
Too.
I get it. I feel a certain way when he's mentioning like places that I'm around, that I've been around. You know what I mean? Like, and you just get like there's a certain level of pride.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I mean he's done well. He's done well, and he now Coach Quinn did say it was not a deciding factor, right? In bringing him on, but he's earned the opportunity, and he's been doing this for a very, very long time now. And I had kind of asked a question about HBCUs, and
I love it.
you can go to that one if you want.
Oh, gotcha. Here we go.
Hey there, Coach Jones. My name is Candy Waller from Bowie TV.
Hi, Candy.
So welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So I'm kind of pulling on the thread of Nikki's question. As an HBCU graduate and having coached on the HBCU level, how has that shaped who you are today?
It's the foundation of who I am today. Having to attend and graduate from Morgan State University, and then getting my first coordinator experience at Bowie State University. So as you can see, the foundation of who I am and why relationships are so important to me is because those players that you come in contact with, either coaching or playing with, it's special, and there's a bond that's there. And so coming to Morgan State, it's not about the glitz and the glamour in terms of what some PWIs may be about, but you find a family atmosphere. I learned that you miss a class, that coach is going to be on you, like, why you missed this class, and that means something, and that helped build who I am today in my character, because now I understand that he cared. Those coaches that coached me at Morgan State, they cared for me, and they cared about my development, not just as a football player, but as a person, as a man, as a father, as a husband. They cared about that development, and I think that's what the HBCUs do. They help bridge that gap. They help provide the experiences of, yes, you're not alone as you continue to grow and as you continue your journey post high school, and you learn a lot of different things going through those processes.
Candy, you got a question from Paul. Paul said, Candy, did Dan seem re-energized knowing he got 2 new coordinators with fresh ideas in store?
No, he just seemed, he's not too high, he's not too low. He's more business. I felt more business today. 12 and 5 and 5 and 12 would do that.
I know that's right.
It's showtime. It's showtime now. And Coach Jones went to Bishop McNamara.
Oh yeah, he know Paul went through that school. That's why he said it. That's why he said it.
He asked. Yeah. He went to Bishop McNamara. So it's and I know a lot of people who went to school with him. I don't know if Paul went to school with Daronte, but I do know people who went to school with Coach Jones. And a lot of what he said is true, right? I'm an HBCU graduate. And you have to know how to connect. You have to know how to relationship build. You all have heard me say several times exactly what Coach Jones said, which is you have to get to know them as men. He said, hey, you get to know them as men. It's who they are. It's not just the ball player. It's not just the coach. You got to get to know them as men. And I posted something from Super Bowl week, and I know people were like, whoa, because I normally don't post. And it was when I went to go see Debo, right? When he was doing a player appearance. I posted it on my IG and Facebook, and everybody knows how Debo is with media. But you build relationships. I posted a little something with Bobby when I showed up at the community event after he won Walter Payton Man of the Year. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just give you a little glimpse or a clip, because while relationships may be built, you still got to operate with integrity. I still got to do my job. You know what I'm saying? You got to do. But you got to also come with your best in all facets. And I think I've shared that with you all. I said, we have multiple stakeholder groups we have to meet. You know what I'm saying? I got to do with y'all, media as it appears to, the ownership group, the front office staff, the president of the organization, the head coach, the coaching staff, the players, all of you. And it's a lot to measure. But when Coach Jones said that, that's when I said, okay, he's going to connect, because that's exactly what we are taught. You know what I mean? Because things aren't opportunities like the one he has. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. The opportunities like the one that he has are few and far between for HBCU graduates.
Facts. True.
Okay. So the fact that he is from here, right? That he graduated from an HBCU from here, right? His first coordinator experience was an HBCU in the county.
It's crazy.
One great thing about coaches that coach at the HBCU level, though, you aren't given anything. You don't have the best facilities. You don't have the latest this or the latest that, and yet you still got to teach and develop and work with guys and get them better. And they do it. And HBCU coaches do it time and again. You see all these players that get to the NFL from the SWAC and the MEAC and even the CIAA, where Bowie State's part of. So, I mean, you're getting guys that find a way to make it work one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Which that's a skill. That to me is a skill a lot of coaches don't have.
And that's why I said, he's gone from the HBCU ranks to the SEC. So like he named them all off. He's been now in the NFL. He coached in the CFL. He's coaching everything. I mean, you can't do any more than that, right? So the experience level is there, and worked with multiple coaches. And so I think this will be exciting. I'm sure they're both excited, Coach Blough and Coach Jones, for this opportunity. Both with very different backgrounds, both calling these plays at such a high level for the first time. So there's another clip. I don't think we've played this one when Daronte was asked about the strength of the defense after watching the film. Did we play that one?
Nope.
And then Dan Quinn mentioned that before you guys started talking about the roster, he asked you to just watch everything.
Yes.
When you watched this defense from last year, what would you describe as the strengths?
Young and athletic. I would say young and athletic. I know there's some older pieces there, but for the most part, especially the guys that we have in our system here, you look at the back end with, we're talking about Sanders Steele, Trey Amos, Quan Martin, Will Harris. Those guys are athletic. Then you throw in a Reeves in there as well, who provides some versatility. And Owen's also another guy who's versatile. You look at McGee, you look at Luvu, you look at Madrano. Those guys are athletic and they're young. And up front, you have some savvy bets up there, and then you have Newton, who's also a young player who has some mobility inside in the interior D-line. And so when you look at that, the first thing that jumps off the tape is these guys can run and hit. And so you definitely want to use that to where guys are going forward versus going backwards.
So I almost hollered. I really did. I almost hollered in the press conference because what have I been telling y'all all season long? Where in the HE double hockey sticks is this old narrative coming from? Where is it coming from? I said, well, if they don't believe me, believe Coach Jones, and he's telling you what's there. Hey, them being utilized is a different conversation.
Yeah, it's an all-day conversation. You got to be able to.
There's a whole different conversation. But the fact that they had, they're there. They're there. And I kept saying it. I was like, you guys, like they're there. And I've been talking about, and Wole and I have been talking about Daron, because I can remember I kept saying, I'm like, well, Daron, I don't know what the contract situation is or how much money is guaranteed. I don't think he has any guaranteed money this year. I don't know.
He's still under contract.
He's still under contract, but I don't think I think the guaranteed money has been paid out. I don't know.
So I heard it still may be a hit if they let him. It's like it's not gonna be as bad, but it's still a hit.
Yeah, it's still a little hit on them where financially. Yeah. But Daron has the final say though.
Yes, I think so. And so I was like, I said, I've been trying to explain this all season long. Like you guys, when I come with information and I come with knowledge, trust me. And even when you don't, I'm always going to say, well, if you don't believe me, here's a clip. If you don't believe me, here's a clip. He just rattled it off. Again, their utilization in the scheme, whole different conversation. And I think that was the challenge for the fan base. It was the who you're seeing regularly. But even when the who you were seeing regularly, I'm like, the math's still not mathing. And everybody's got to learn who these players are on this roster so that you know exactly who they have and exactly who's out there and how old they really are and what he's talking about when he says young.
You got you. Hey, before we wrap this up, Candy, I want to get one more thing from you guys, everybody on the panel, because just share the excitement today, right? And do you and the other reporters or people that's watching, even guys in the chat, I want you guys to let me know. Do you believe the new era? Do you believe in the new coordinators? Do you believe in the offensive coordinator? Do you believe in Dan Quinn? Let us know, how are you feeling as we wrap this up?
To Wole's point, they're saying all the right things. They're saying all the right things. Aligned with the question that I asked DQ about the non-negotiables for his coordinators, the things that they are saying are aligned with the must-haves for the coordinators, right? And I can appreciate that. I like that. I think it's hard to feel any kind of way, and oh, by the way, let's not move away from the fact that they did re-sign Tressway. You got to have a good puncher. Good punchers are few and far between.
Yeah.
That's the number one signing.
Pro bowler, and he was not an alternate. He was a legit Pro bowler. So you got to re-sign
Gina, you
him.
must have enjoyed that Seattle punter's performance in the Super Bowl. You must have enjoyed that quite a bit.
Listen. I'm a special teamer. I love it. I'm like, because special teams matters. And that lets you know it matters. Because that was the only consistent thing they had all season. Ain't nobody even talking about Coach Izzo because his job is secure right now.
Yeah.
So his job is secure. They got the memo. He got the memo for the scheme. And what he done. And so if they could just get a kicker, but that's a whole nother conversation. But a steady kicker. I know Wole is on the Jake Moody train. So but I think that the energy is that everybody's like, they're new. And so it's like, okay, this has got to be better than last year. Anything can be better than last year because they were at the bottom. It was bad. So
yeah, Taj, I think to your point, as we wrap, to your point, I think regardless, everybody likes Tressway. Tressway is a likable type person, man, and I think people has to cheer the re-signing of good people. You know what I'm saying? Of good people that you like, and he's a staple. And to me, I'll say this, and and it may never happen, but I think his name, his number should go up in the ring of whatever stadium they're in, because I think Tressway, the Washington should retire his number. So. Wole and George, we got.
All right, we got some comments that Santiago said. I feel like I'm feeling optimistic. They may be some growing pains. Because Scott says we got the right guys by the words. Now time to perform on the field. Agreed, Scott. Question for Renell Winchester's 4347. Can DC Jones get any Vikings players here? I don't know. Maybe Harrison Smith. But he's old. He may retire.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's also said keep the faith. For me, I feel like I'm pretty much like Scott said. I like what I heard. The verbiage is great. I'm not overly hyped for it. But I got to see it because I got to see it. Like I just want to see the action. But if I'm comparing it to what we heard, and I'm speaking for defense. It's not about the offense. It's about for defense. That's what I have most of my concerns with. I do like the verbiage from the defensive coordinator. I feel like the offense will be its offense. I think if it comes out to be better than what it was, 10 times better than it was with Cliff, which means it's an explosive offense. Because Cliff wasn't bad, he just wasn't consistent. But if Blough is consistent, then we have an elite offense, which is something totally different. But I will say, I do like what Jones had to say. I just thought it just made sense. It just makes sense. It's not a bunch of rah-rah talk. You know what I mean? I think rah-rah talk, that's what I had the issues with in the last situation, was too much rah-rah talk. At least I think there was, again, I'm going to keep saying it, there's more substance to it. But at the end of the day, it's all about playing on the football field. Oh, yeah. Scott, yeah. He went to the kid from went to Ohio State. Jeff Okuda.
Agency opens.
That's a good one.
2 weeks after the combine, I think free agency opens. So
March 14th, isn't it?
March 14th. You get to Tampering a couple of days earlier.
He's a top. Jeff Okuda was he was a top 10 pick. I think when he came out, he was a bust. He's better for depth. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it. Scott wouldn't be mad at it all for real. For depth, yeah. I think he's just as good as
March 11th.
Yeah, March 11th. He's just as good as
it's a Tuesday.
Noah. He's better than Noah. I think he's better than Noah.
Yeah.
For depth, yeah. For depth, yes. I'm with you on that. George,
Wednesday. It's gonna be crazy.
I didn't hear anything that changed my mind on Daronte Jones. I like where he's come from and how he he hasn't skipped any steps to get to this point. He didn't have anything given to him. He wasn't somebody's guy or son of somebody or whatever.
Right.
He has earned everything, absolutely everything he's got. And that's so I'm confident in him. You know, it may not work out fine, whatever, but I'm confident in him because experience plus coaching under
right
the defensive coordinator in Minnesota, Brian Flores. Anybody that's coached for him is somebody I'm going to give a chance to. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But David Blough is just, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm still looking at somebody that's got that job because the head coach, for whatever reason, wouldn't go after Mike McDaniel or thought, well, I can't go after Mike McDaniel and then we may miss out on Blough if McDaniel says no, because that's sort of what happened with Mike McDonald and Dan Quinn. And maybe that was something that was more organizational than Dan Quinn, but I'm gonna yell a lot of convincing on David Blough before I'm there. Just the way it is. I mean, he shouldn't have this job right now. Honestly, he hasn't had the kind of grounding that Daronte Jones has had. So we'll see. We'll see with David Blough. I hope I'm wrong. Mike McDaniel would have come here because him and Dan Quinn are like this. He didn't try. That's my view.
That doesn't really matter in this case.
Okay.
I think.
You know what I mean? Because Mike McDaniel. First of all, he can go wherever he wanted.
True.
And LA is very nice.
It is, but he and Dan Quinn. I mean, that's almost a fatherly son relationship.
But you also gotta understand. Like here's the hard truth that I don't think we talked about out loud. And I know we got to wrap this up about this team. Mm-hmm. It's unproven. It's unproven. You had one good year.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Okay. The Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, with that defense that they have, with the quarterback that they have, right? You got veteran some stuff going on over there. You got some younger pieces over there. I think the hard truth is we took one great year and said they've made it. And that's not true, you all.
Guilty.
It was 1 year. It was 1 year. They've not shown any consistency yet. None, actually. Pretty bottom of the barrel on the consistency aspect. None. So you got to be in a situation where, first of all, you want to live there based on you know what you're gonna do. If you unexpectedly got fired, you want to be somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like I want to be somewhere that's gonna be the best opportunity for me. I like the sun. I like the weather. You know what I mean? Those things matter. You're coming from Miami. So, you know, in this temperament, but is somewhere that's a bit more consistent with the pieces. This situation is very fluid and it's not proven yet. So for somebody who is skilled, and I'm not saying they didn't try. What I'm saying is for somebody like a Mike McDaniel, they got their choice. He could have gone wherever he wanted, literally. He pulled out of head coaching positions. He like, man, I ain't going there. It's too cold. I ain't going over there. Y'all crazy. I ain't doing all that because, you know, and he chose what he wanted based on the situation that was right for him, you know, and his family, because those things matter as well when you are in this situation. So until it's proven, I mean, people like that, again, they only got two things, working for Dan Quinn, Jayden Daniels. He was hurt. The rest of it, you don't know. And that's the reality, you guys. We're in a situation where the rest of it, you really don't know.
It is. And I mean, we got to see the rest of the story.
Even those two things, you only know. That's not a lot to go on to make you change and move to Ashburn, Virginia.
And, hey, like I said, that's a new era, a new story. And it's going to be fun in the offseason to watch this thing play out. Right?
Definitely.
OTAs are going to be fun. Training camp is going to be fun. All this, the draft is going to be fun. Free agency is going to be fun. The combine, we're going to have to see this thing play out. And guess what? We're going to be here for you guys. All Burgundy and Gold, Bowie TV, and Candy Waller. We're going to be here for you, giving you all the news, all the updates, all the breakdowns. everything. Again, a new era in DC, aggressive offense, aggressive defense, attacking defense. We got it here, and we're going to see it all. Candy, let everybody know where they can follow you and find you and everything, like all your socials.
You all can find me on X at Seawall SE. Make sure you're subscribed to Bowie TV on YouTube. If you have not cut your cable and you're in Prince George's County, Maryland, you can find us on Comcast channels 190 and 1097. I'm CEO Seawall on Instagram, Bowie TV Sports across all, the social media platforms. Like I always say, I ain't hard to find. Like I said, and so definitely lock in. I will be at Combine. Definitely plan on being at the owners. Everywhere that y'all used to, if you're new to me though, I'm repeating this. Others know, but I'll certainly be at Combine. The plan is definitely to be at owners meetings. NFL draft, I'm at home base. I'm in Ashburn. I go, but we will have representation from Bowie TV at the actual draft in Pittsburgh because the Commanders are picking, so high. So somebody will be there, and we'll see what happens, you all. I think there's no expectations this go round, so maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised like we were in 2024.
If I may add, Bowie TV, for those of you who care about local coverage with what's happened at the Washington Post, Bowie TV is more vital and important to covering this football team and the Ravens. For those of you who are Ravens fans out there with Korea C. Parks, Bowie TV is more vital than ever. So you should be following, you should be watching, you should be subscribed.
Awesome.
Awesome. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're on our way to 1,000. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, I guess if you're in the comment section, you already subscribed. Yeah, you already subscribed. I'm sorry, it's a hook by crook, but make sure you share this with somebody else. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for rocking with us again. Hey, all burgundy gold, everything. Wooly, you say it better than I do, so man, I'm gonna let you hit the deuces, Brady.
Hey, y'all. Hey. Appreciate y'all pulling up, man. You all are dope, man. You've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything for ages. Deuces. We are out. Peace.